Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream Park today. You can see it's a pretty nice day here at Gulfstream Park. Fast and firm are the conditions. We have some cloud cover out there with some intermittent sunshine is peeking through those clouds. 10 races on the card. I'm Ashley Mayhew. I'm joined the next couple of days by Brian Nadeau. Brian, welcome back to Gulfstream.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Ashley. It wasn't hot enough in Saratoga, so I figured I'd swing down here and get some nice sunshine down here. But yeah, like you said, we look like we're in all set for a really nice weekend.
I'm glad you came up here and didn't bring any of the rain with you. We've been pretty good here the last couple days. I know we had a little bit of sprinkle showers the last couple days, but nothing too significant, as you can see. As I mentioned, fast and firm. 10 races on the Twilight card, which is about an hour away from post time. The guarantee in the Rainbow Six today, which starts in race 5, is $450,000. We'll get to your ticket later on when we go through that. But let's just jump into the card here in race 1, which is the start of that early pick 5. It's a $35,000 maiden claiming event for 2-year-old fillies going a mile on the turf. Here's my ticket. It's a $36 play as usual. Kind of looking at the sequence, there were a couple scratches, so I changed my ticket a little bit in structure, but here I just go too deep, use the number 1, Cape Town Candy, and the number 5, the morning line favorite. In race 2, I'll use 3 runners in here. I didn't have too strong of opinion. I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on the number 4, Geoscience, and the 6, Dr. Roger. I also toss in the horse on the rail. Race 3, too deep in there. My top pick of the day, and actually my best bet, Dana Grace's scratch. So I go to the number 3, Grace's Drama is my top pick, as well as the number 6, Special Counsel. I thought this one might be intriguing at 8-1 on the morning line. Race 4, I spread in here once again, go 3 deep in that 5-furlong turf sprint. And to wrap up this sequence, I'm just 2 runners deep in race 5. I'll use the number 3, Mystery Mo, as well as the number 7, Captain, out of the Kathleen O'Connell barn. Really liked the performance last time out off the layup. So a $36 play here in that early pick 5, but diving more into this race by itself, kind of looking at the key players in here. I'm curious to see who used on top. Had a feeling you might like the horse on the rail, the number 1, Cape Town Candy. I mean, 1 start under the belt, that was going 7.5 furlongs here on July 25th, while in the barn of Mikey Yates. Finished kind of an even finish in there, 5th place, was claimed out of there by Juan Avila, who's going to make the second start with this filly.
Yeah, 10% off the claim for the barn. And you know, we've got the replay of this one, too. And a tough trip last time from a wide post. And as you know, you're going to see it here. She's the far outside, the 8. And as you know, she breaks a little slow first. And these posts on going 7.5 are really problematic. And she is going to tuck in, but it's not going to be till pretty much around the turn. She's way out wide here, marooned. You know, what is that, 8, 9 paths out. She is going to get over, but look how much ground she lost. And I thought it was a credit to her that she still put in a little bit of a middle move here. She ran on a little bit late. She was bet a little bit that day, 6-1 in an 8-horse field, so there was some value. As I mentioned, the barn's 10% off the claim, and today we get all the best of it, going outside to inside today. So I put her on top, basically a little better price than the 5, but you know, you and I are similar in your pick 5, and I'd like to think we have the right 2 here as well.
Yeah, you're alluding to the number 5, Dolce April, 5-2 on the morning line. This one's out of the Antonio Sano barn. Now, said 2 tries over the turf. They've been her most recent efforts, both at 7.5. I think last time out, she just kind of had some traffic in there and she tired, but the effort 2 back was a respectable 4th.
Yeah, you see the running eye last time, steadied, and then a little bit of a problem last time. The maiden special weight drop is very key here. Gets Jaramillo as well, so there's a lot of angles today that says it's go time with her.
And then you can see from here, we're kind of all over the place. It's kind of the top 2 that we've narrowed in on. I see that you're interested in the number 8, Molly's Hope, who really turned things around on the turf last time out, was part of that pace scenario.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't run an inch on debut on the dirt, maiden special weight. Now she drops, she stretches out, she gets to turf. She shows a lot more speed, was really game in that effort. Now you're not going to get the 58-1 today, but you're still right now at 8-1. That's pretty square price if you're a believer.
Yeah, we've talked about all the horses with race experience. Just one I want to touch upon real quick, the number 10 of Vladislava, another one out of the Juan Avila barn. The mare, in terms on the racetrack, she might have not been a force to be reckoned with, but she's been quite the producer. 9 foals to race. All of them have been winners, and most of them have been multiple kind of winners in their career. So I thought this was intriguing. Maybe the workout tab, maybe not the most appealing, but I just thought that the mare had some class to her in the breeding shed, so I'm going to use this one underneath. We can move on to race 2 in here. It's a 5.5 furlong event. Maiden claimers, 12.5 is the claiming price. Now this one's for 3-year-olds and upward. And we basically have the same 4 horses in here. We'll start with the one towards the outside, the number 8, Linguist. This one's out of the Antonio Sano barn, taking a significant drop in class, now second off the layoff.
And that's what it is. Second off the layoff, chased against maiden special weights last time, first time in the Sano barn, and tired, you know, kind of predictably, 57-1 that day. But here's the big drop, the outside attack post. I think there's reason to believe he runs better. Second time for the barn, second time off the break. And there's, you know, not a lot in here that if he does move forward, he's not going to be a major player.
Another runner we both like, my top pick in here is the number 6, Dr. Roger, who I'll admit he's had his fair share of chances to break his maiden. He's 0 for 11 so far, but I think the big thing is he's a little versatile. He doesn't need the lead. I thought last time out he just got denied in the end by Bono, who was able to close, and literally the last 2 or 3 jumps to the wire, that was going 6 furlongs. I thought 5.5 might be the right move.
Yeah, and you hinted at it. He's 0 for 11, so you get what you get. He's going to run his race. Sooner or later it's going to be good enough, but it's also one of the reasons why you're allowed to look elsewhere if you're not a fan. But absolutely, he has to be on your ticket. He's got to be an A, because today very easily could be the day with his last few bodies of work.
And horse, it's 2-1 on the morning line. The number 4, Geoscience. Use a little further down on your selections, and I'm curious to kind of pick your brain on that. Little inconsistent on the forms, probably the main reason. Last time out was back in December of 2020. They tried this one on the turf, forwardly placed, and then just had nothing to say after that. Was very done early in that race. That was against 35,000. Now on a big drop.
Yeah, the drop, and I mean, it's easy to say, okay, he didn't like the turf. That's one thing, but he's run well on the turf in the past. If nothing else, he did keep his speed that day. That's a good thing, but now he hasn't been out since December. He drops again, hoping getting back to the dirt is going to wake him up. Another one you probably have to use, but another one you don't have to bet at 2-1, if he's taking a lot of tote action, at least to win.
Race 3 is up next. It's a 6.5 furlong event. This is $8,000 claimers that have not won a race in 6 months. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. Big scratch in here. I assume that it kind of affected your selections in here a lot. The number 4, Dana Grace, is out of here. My best bet of the day, was really looking forward to, and I think we kind of landed on the logical horse next in here. The number 3, Grace's Drama, from a consistency perspective, 11-time winner from 52 in the career.
Yeah, we both lost our top pick, so now we kind of get scrambling looking elsewhere. But she's the one, there should be enough speed in here to set her up. She does have a little penchant of dropping too far out of it. That would be a little worrisome if someone gets loose early, but I think what she's done of late is just better than what this group has right now.
You look at that effort 2 back July 17th. This level distance was just second best in there, and you said it perfectly well. I mean, this horse is just typically a little too far off of it. Maybe they'll try to change the tactics a little bit, but you never know. 7-year-old mare, you usually go with what you know. From here, same sort of horses that we use. Go to the number 2, Just Saying, who's going to change barns today. Has been just facing better, has tried the turf, been all over the place, now dropping in for the $8,000 tag.
Yeah, I mean, her races on the dirt have been much better, but they were with Carlos David, so that's, not with that prolific barn anymore. So what do you get today? You can probably draw a line through the turf race last time, and if she runs her typical race, it's going to put her on the line with a group like this. You just have to wonder, new barn now, can she replicate it?
A mare that I have some interest in is the number 6, Special Counsel. I'd like to see that you also use this one. Race at this level last time out, actually against Grace's Drama on July 17th, was picked out of that race. Now in the Oscar Gonzalez barn, who does quite well off the claim, 24%. Just thought you look at her record, kind of lightly raced for being 6 years old, but pretty consistent here at Gulfstream.
Yeah, the blinkers come off today, so that maybe that'll get her to settle a little bit. You would think Distinctly Blue and Domineer would go in some way, shape, or form. If she can sit in the catbird seat, get first run on our top 2, on our the top pick at least, she has a chance in here.
Move on to race 4. We're back on the turf here, a 5-furlong turf sprint. It's the maiden special weight event for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. I assume your selections may be shuffled around by 2 of the scratches in here, with the number 4, All Real Dream, a first-time starter that I was interested in, as well as the number 7, Settler. So from here, the number 2, La Urbana. This one's out of the Rohan Crichton barn, and I wanted to mention this one. When I went in the formulator and did some digging, I did have a trainer stat here to show for this one, specifically kind of looking at Rohan Crichton's numbers. We'll see if we can show that right now on the board. You can look at maiden first after the trainer switch the last 5 years. This horse hasn't raced since 2020, the end of the year. But Rohan does quite well with this. 4 for 15, 27%, 53% in the money with a $2.40 ROI. And you look at this one, exits the barn as Steve Asmussen, was facing some tough competition in New York, now going to try the turf.
Yeah, and she looks like the controlling speed, and then you put the blinkers on. The Lasix goes on today as well, and it's tough to improve off Steve Asmussen, but this is a very high percentage barn. You showed the stat there too, and these were solid. They were state-bred races in New York, but they were solid races. She ran relatively well, had speed in all of them. I think she's going to be tough to reel in today, Ashley, especially with the 2 scratches. Who I had them 1-2, and I kind of think you did too.
Yeah, she looks really, I think, tough in this spot. Another one that I looked a little bit to is the number 6, Seasong, who's entered here recently. Another one out of the Rohan Crichton barn was entered here recently. The races were moved from the turf onto the dirt, so they scratched this one. I wasn't surprised by that move. You kind of look at the pedigree. I don't know how deep you went into the pedigree. This is a half to proven strategies stakes winner, graded stakes place. I just thought her races, she can show more, and she's performed well on the grass.
Yeah, and she got run off her feet a little bit last time, cutting back, and it was probably a new, kind of experience for her. Now the blinkers go on, so that she should show a little more speed off that tightener where she cut back. I would think she'll be closer too. So yeah, the barn seems to have this one in the front and maybe from a little bit off the pace as well.
And one other filly you have some interest in is the number 3, Romantic Tale. Finished pretty nicely last time out, kind of was just second best to Baby Mo in that maiden special weight event here on July 16th.
Yeah, she really woke up getting back to the turf last time. And if she runs that race back here with that number, she's going to be a player in here, because as good as the 2 or the 6 might be, they really haven't run that race recently. So she's a threat.
It'll be interesting to see how that race pans out. Rohan Crichton sending out 2 and Romantic Tale off that big performance. But that's how we see the first 4 races on the card. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back for the last 6 and see your Rainbow 6 ticket. Welcome back to Gulfstream Park today. Ashley and Brian here. We're going to kind of jump into the last 6 races on the card. Race 5 is the $35,000 maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds and upward, going 7 furlongs over the main track. This is the start of the Rainbow 6, and I know, Brian, you have a ticket you want to show.
Yeah, a very condensed ticket, Ashley, because I think it looks that type of sequence. $450,000 guarantee, the carryover just short of $300,000. You see 357 in race 5, and I think they're the logical contenders. Mystery Mo, we'll talk about this race in a second. Mystery Mo, creative choice, and Captain, it's probably you figure out the order, but I would like to think they get you through. Then race 6, I've got both the 6, Our Man Joe, and the 7. Allegedly Perfect, who's not the favorite on the morning line, looks loose to me, and I think that's a big deal, sprinting 5, on the turf. So I'm just hoping that he pops the gate and forgets to stop, but certainly Our Man Joe is a major hitter for Georgina Baxter. Here's the universal single, I believe Pete's got to include the Beast at 4 to 5 on the morning line, and she just looks like she overwhelms this field in race 7. I would think that's everybody's single. It's a late pick 4 time, in the late pick 5, and in this Rainbow as well. That's going to help you get a very, you can play a very short ticket with her. The 4 in the 6, Freedom Matters and Vow Me Now. I think this is the one race today, Ashley, that maybe you and I, if not have a differing opinion, you thought maybe it was a little more wide open than I do, but I do like Vow Me Now on what is a pretty significant class drop, and I put Freedom Matters in there as well, who's got very, very good form. My long shot play of the day is in race 9, Oh Steve, and we'll talk about that, but you can see I bought it. I have no strong opinion. I wanted a price. I really didn't trust anybody, so it's kind of no surprise I went with a long shot play there. Not a huge long shot. I think it's that type of card, but hopefully we'll get some value there. And I think the last, it's either the 2 or it's really tough to figure out. And I think the 2 off the Delgado claim, going back to the turf, back sprinting, facing a group that is certainly there for the taking, I just thought was very, very logical, will be very, very tough to beat. And it, like I hinted at, it's one of those races, if you're not singling, you've got to go 5 or 6 deep, and you still might not have the winner. So I took that approach to it, $16.80 ticket. I think it's that type of play where you can play it on a small budget. Maybe you can try to hit it 2 or 3 times if that's your jam, but that's the play I'm coming up with today.
Very, very affordable ticket, $16.80. I think whenever you come here, I'm always looking forward to seeing your singles, because you always have 1 or 2 in that ticket, which definitely kind of give you more options to spread in some of those races. But looking more here into race 5, I do think you have the logical 3. Maybe the order we don't agree on necessarily, but I think it's all kind of right there. Mentioned this is a $35,000 maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds and upwards. And I'll start with the number 3, Mystery Mo, this one out of the Jeff Angler barn. really consistent in those last couple efforts. Still hasn't necessarily graduated, but all of those efforts as of recent have been at a mile. I thought the cutback really might help this son of Uncle Mo.
Yeah, I love that. The mile to 7 furlongs, so there's plenty of foundation here. And the MSW drop, too. It's the biggest drop in racing, has never run for a tag off 7 starts, now takes the drop in for 35. Perfect attack, for perfect stalking style in this drop. And like I said, the cutback is going to help, too.
And just looking at those maiden special weight races, some of the horses that he's faced, Alonso was just second at Parks in a stakes race up there. Rabdan, after he faced winners, he came to race here in a stake, which he didn't get in the money, but I thought it was a good fourth from him. So it's nice to see that he's been kind of holding his own against tougher competition. You mentioned the drop today. Now, you as your top pick, you go to the number 7, Captain, just making that third career start. This one's out of the Kathleen O'Connell barn, who this one really just stepped up after having the winter off here on August 1st. Finished a really nice second after being part of the pace.
Yeah, clearly the time off benefited, showed a lot more speed that day when the Lasix was added. Now we're outside, one of the favorites today. Second off the layoff, has only run 3 times too, so still a world of upside for this one. Probably a little bit better price as well than Mystery Mo. So I like this one in here, and if he can move forward, he's going to throw down a race that's going to be pretty problematic, even with Mystery Mo on the drop.
The other one we both use in the third spot, the number 5, Creative Choice. This one's out of the Joe Orsino barn. Finished second 2 starts back over the slop, then last time out, bumped this one up for that maiden optional $50,000 claiming event, and was just third in there. Was beaten by 7.5, was favored, but was still an okay effort.
Yeah, probably regressed a little bit off the big run 2 back in the slop, as you mentioned. A little bit of a class drop today, and would be no surprise either if Mystery Mo or Captain stubbed their toe a little bit. I think you've got to use all 3, and I'd like to think if you do, you get through this race.
Yeah, they definitely seem like the most logical 3 to use in there. Race 6, a $20,000 claiming event for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and upward, which have never won 3 races in their career. 5 furlongs on the turf. I always struggle with these races, Brian. I think they're usually wide open events, and you can see we have the same 4 horses once again, just kind of flip-flopped around in here. We'll start with the number 7, Allegedly Perfect. This one's out of the David Fox barn. Haven't seen this one in some time. Last race on January 30th at this level, finished 4th, beaten by a length after just stalking the pace early on.
Yeah, it's a small sample, but the barn's 3 for 11 off this kind of elongated layoff. Edwin Gonzalez is here. I think that's a very, very good sign. Obviously, it shows some intent. And I think this horse is loose in here, Ashley. It's certainly the speed of the speed, if nothing else. You can see him chasing 43 and change, and I don't really see anyone in here being able to throw down those kind of fractions, and I don't think it's ever a bad thing to be in front when you're going 5 on this Gulfstream Park turf course.
No, his big question will be the layoff, but you mentioned the barn is quite strong with that angle. Now, the horse that I actually use is the horse on the rail, the number 1, Koi, who finished second last time out, going 7.5 furlongs. Sat off the pace, was a couple of lengths off early on, and made that late move just to miss by half a length, beaten by Sovereign Warrior. My big thing with this one, 2 for 2 at the 5 furlong distance. We see one of those races 2 starts back. I know it was against lesser competition. Pace not necessarily as quick as you mentioned other horses have kind of raced in those races, but I just think this one could be dangerous. I know he's got the inside draw, maybe not ideally where they want to be, but he's been okay with it in the past.
Yeah, if things get heated early, he's going to be the one to fear in the lane. As you mentioned, 2 for 2 at the distance. He's run twice at 7.5 in his last 3 starts, but he sandwiches the win 2 back. He's going to need some pace help, but if it develops, he's going to be rolling late.
And a horse that might be just off the pace or maybe even on the lead, as he has been in the past, is the number 6, Arman Joe, out of the Georgina Baxter barn. Simply loves it here at Gulfstream Park. 6 races, 5 in the money, 2 of which have been wins. And so far, we only have that 1 start in the spring/summer. That was at Tampa over the slop. Again, $16,000 non-winners at 3 lifetime. Still a pretty game second in there.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because Jaramillo gets back aboard, and you mentioned he's shown speed in the past. Now, of late, he hasn't had that speed, but then you look at the times Jaramillo rode him, he's really put him in the game early, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. He obviously knows how to read the racing form. He doesn't want Allegedly Perfect to get too far away, so it'll be interesting to see if he latches right onto him early or if he takes a more patient approach, and it could be problematic late.
Yeah, and he's 2-time winner from 8 attempts at this distance, and I agree. I'm not sure what they'll do with Arman Joe today, which version of him will show up. We'll move on to race 7. This is the start of the late pick 4. This is a claiming event for fillies and mares. $6,250 is the price tag, 6 furlongs on the main track. And looking at this, I kind of toyed around with a different way to play, especially in race 8. I know we talked about maybe we don't necessarily agree in that race, but in race 7, I came down to 3 horses in here. I know this is your single. Include the Beast does look tough. First off, the claim for Jorge Delgado, but I'll use 2 others in here, the 1 and the 3. Race 8. I went 3 deep in here. I think looking at the field, the number 6, Vow Me Now, is the horse to beat, but I do have some interest in the number 5, Light Fury, out of the Ron Spatz barn, as well as the number 8, Croy. He's just a hard-knocking type you really can't count out here at Gulfstream Park. Race 9, I'll go 2 deep in here. I know you like the number 4, Oh Steve. The 2 that stood out to me, the number 2, Picking Up Pennies for Saffie Joseph Jr., as well as the number 5, Absolute Grit. And then to wrap things up, I know you like the 2, Sid, Stay in Your Lane. My long shot comes in here is the number 9, Senorita Salsa, 6-1 morning line. Maybe we'll get some more value come post time. Use that one, as well as the number 7, Driving Wind. So $27 for me here in that late pick 4. But diving more specifically in here to race number 7, 6 furlongs on the dirt. We'll start with the heavy favorite is what we'll say. The number 7, Include the Beast, Your Single. First off the claim for Jorge Delgado, and one last time out will in for the 12-5 tag.
Yeah, I mean, the barn's 30% off the claim, and as you mentioned, she won last time. She's been in very good form in her last 3 starts. This is a barn that typically moves these horses up, and, no disrespect to Aubrey Mirage, obviously, but, this is a barn at 30% now. You're allowed to expect maybe even better than last time, and last time was probably good enough to begin with. So I think a lot of things point to the fact that Include the Beast is going to be very, very tough here. I know they claimed her for 12.5, and she runs for 6.25 today. But again, you factor in the purse at 19,000. They're going to get out, so that it's not really that worrisome to me. She's going to be really, really tough to beat. Conversely, though, if you get one of your 2 horses home, a lot of tickets are going to be knocked out very early in the sequence.
And something else just to mention with the condition of this race, she is the lone 3-year-old filly in here, so this is for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and upwards, fillies and mares, which have not won 3 races in their career. She has those 3 races and meets the condition, so she does look tough. From here, I actually go to the number 1, K's Running Free, out of the Daniel Pita barn. I know disappointed last time out, but they claimed this one for 12.5, jumped up to $20,000. They kind of had to make that move with her. Now dropping in for $6,250. I think this is maybe where she has the chance to come back to life. You see that effort, 2 starts back and 3 starts back, well in for the 12.5 tag. She was respectable. I mean, I really like the effort 2 back when she was 3rd. Who beat her? Include the Beast, the winner. Pretty Rachel, I think she's on a win streak now, maybe up to 4 wins in a row. So at least the competition she's been facing is tough.
Listen, it was a confident move to move her up to 20 off the claim. So, I mean, that you got that going. It didn't work out. Now she's back kind of with her friends here. Got to improve off Saffie Joseph Jr. Not easy to do. But you're right. She wasn't, too far behind Include the Beast 2 back. And if the favorite stumbles a little bit and she bridges the gap, every chance.
Now I want to hear about the number 2, Katniss Can, 12-1 on the morning line. I don't have this one, but I saw the morning line price, thought it was intriguing.
Yeah, well, here was my thinking here, putting her in second. There's going to be some horses that are going to be involved early that could get fried by the heavy favorite. And so sometimes when that happens, they regress and maybe a rank outsider picks up some of the pieces. That could be Katniss Can in here. She's going to settle early. She's going to try to make a run late. And if some of these other gals try to win and they lose because of that, she might come on late.
The interesting angle at a price here in race number 7. We'll move on to race 8, the start of the late pick 3. This is where I think things get really interesting, in my opinion. It's a starter allowance, $16,000. For 3-year-olds and upwards, going 7.5 furlongs over the turf course. And looking at us, we did land on the same top pick, the number 6, Vow Me Now, who last time out finished 5th, kind of took a lot of play in the Mr. Steel, tried to make up ground in there, wasn't able to do so. But I think you look at some of the earlier races this year, some really big performances.
Yeah, I mean, he hits hard, the stakes drop. We're going to show the replay of his last race. I thought he had some trouble, too. I mean, I thought he would have been closer, and I still thought he ran very, very well. Here you see him down inside. He's the 5. Tracking 2 leaders, and I believe the winner's on his outside, or the winner's going to come up on his outside. So he's in, the trouble hasn't really started yet, but he's still got to save ground here, and he's looking for a spot, and he kind of gets beaten to the spot. So here's the winner now, tipping 3 wide, okay? And he's going to find himself trying to get out. He can't really do it. He gives up first run. He's still got to wait. He's got to wait, and here's the winner swooping now, and he still can't get out. And now where are you going? And it's not going to work there, so he's got to tuck all the way back around. He's got to loop him 5 deep here. And, normally you'd say, all right, he's going to be 5th. What are you going to do? We'll get him next time. Now he shows some interest late. He runs on late. So, yeah, he is still 5th. But I thought he showed added interest there with a cleaner run. I'm not saying he's going to beat the winner that day, but I think with a cleaner run, he would have been right there. And this is a drop in class. There's no doubt about it. He's back with his friends here for 16 starters. It's not a $75,000 stakes race. I think he's going to be really tough. I think it's the perfect attack post. He's got speed to be involved throughout. So I did go 2 deep in here. I did use Freedom Matters in that Rainbow 6, but I think Vow Me Now is going to be really tough to beat.
We'll talk about Freedom Matters now that you brought up this. Gelding, last time out, was a winner here, going a mile on August 7th, was picked out of that event for $25,000. And the main thing I see, hot commodity here in South Florida, has been kind of shuffling barns all winter, spring, summer, you name it. Last time out, really had to work for it. I will say, in my opinion, the runner-up, a really respectable horse here, Tune In. So I was impressed with that performance.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I mean, he's been claimed six times of late, and that's a good thing. Now we've got to improve off Saffie Joseph Jr. I've already mentioned it. It's not easy to do, but his entire form of late, it's been very, very good. He likes to win races. He's 4 for 17 over this turf course, but he's 13 of 17 in the money. And that last race he just fired in the optional claimer is going to make him a big threat in here.
Another one I'm curious about is the number 5, Light Fury, who maybe when you look at the numbers, not on the same level of the other horse that we mentioned, but he's rattled off 2 wins in a row here. He's out of the Ron Spatz barn. Did some digging here. Have a formulator fact here for Ron Spatz, just looking at winner last time out the past 2 years. 12 for 46, 26% in terms of wins, 54% in the money with a $2.66 ROI. Spoke to Ron Spatz a few days ago. I know he's been looking for a spot for this horse. This is the spot that they could finally get into. And, you know, he's going to try to extend the win streak, but I like his tactical, the tactical advantage that he has here. He does not need the lead to win. He might just be off the pace setters in here in the perfect striking distance.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He does have to improve, but you're going to get the right kind of price to find out. He's going to sit the right kind of trip. He's also 5 for 9 over this Gulfstream Park turf course. So there is a lot to like in here. If you look at your form, it says turf sprints that the barn's 1 for 21. Well, this is not a turf sprint. It's a two-turn route, really. So it's kind of classified that way. But if you're thinking outside the box a little bit, you're going to get a great price on Light Fury, no doubt about it.
At 9-2 morning line, I think we might see that float up a little bit towards post time. We'll move on to race 9 here. We just have 2 races on the Twilight Friday card to go through. This is a claiming event for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and upward, which have never won 2 races in their career. 6 furlongs on the dirt with that claiming price of $35,000. And we're all over the place here. It kind of shows you this is the race that I know you use the all button in the Rainbow Six. And the horse that you really like in here is the number 4, Oh Steve, who last time out made a start after having 2 months off. Tough spot to be in. Finished 5th, lost some ground in there, but faced some nice horses here. And I think when you go back to the prior form, pretty nice races here.
Yeah, I mean, this is my long shot play of the day. He's 8-1 on the morning line. I said the wrong number earlier. And the thing I like here is, yes, this is for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and up, but there's only one 4-year-old here. So the field is filled with 3-year-olds. So I think those last 3 races are significant class drops to the 35 he's in for today. There should be some speed in this race to set him up a little bit. He probably has to improve, but if he gets back to that race 2 back with the fast figure 3rd, that's going to put him in the mix here, and you should get fair value. Admittedly, I had no opinion. As you saw my Rainbow Six ticket, I bought this race. Hopefully, I'll get the price here with O. Steve.
My horse on top that I use is the number 2, Picking Up Pennies out of the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. Said 3 starts kind of in between little layoffs here and there, most recently July 31st. Before that, had a couple months off, so we hadn't seen this one since late May. He's been at this level twice now in a row, has finished twice in both of those. Has needed a little bit more. You kind of look at the strategy, in my opinion. Last time out, they tried to have him sit just off the pace, didn't have enough late, and 2 starts back, they put him on the lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's the horse to beat. He's probably the horse to catch, right? And if he gets clear, he might not look back. For me, especially with O. Steve, I need somebody to go with this horse. But if he does clear and he's got some heavy speed when they use it, I would think he's back on the front today. And they're just trying to hope he doesn't stop.
And finally, the number 5, Absolute Grit. It's kind of an intriguing play in here. I had a big break. We saw this one 2 starts back in April of 2020. Was not seen at the races again until July of 2021 when he finished 3rd at this level. Thought it was a decent race for return to the races. Definitely could improve here. Now suck it off the layoff.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Eddie Police is having a very, very good meet as well. 2nd off the long layoff. And if he does, listen, the race last time, it might put him right there with this group today. If he improves off that, he's going to have that much more of a shot. And he's another one with a little bit of a rating gear. If they go crazy early, he's going to sit in the right spot.
One more race to go through. That is race number 10. It's a 5-furlong turf sprint. It's a maiden event for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, with a claiming price of $12,500. And looking at this turf race, we kind of talked about the horses to use here. I'll start with your top pick, who I think is the one to beat. First off the claim here for Jorge Delgado, that's the number 2, Sid, Stay in Your Lane. Finished 5th last time out, kind of has had 2 washouts back-to-back, trying to get this one on the turf, but has to settle for the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything clever to add, just that I would think today it's got to be go time. I mean, Delgado claims her. I think the fact, Ashley, that he claimed this horse to begin with is interesting because, you know, she's not really any great shakes, but obviously he saw the turf form in the first 3 starts of her career, immediately brings her back on the turf. We've already talked about this barn, prolific 30% off the claim. Now we go to Edwin Gonzalez, a sizable jockey upgrade as well. And those turf races that you see to start her career are just way better than this field. So I'm just kind of the master of the obvious here. She was my single, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say as on the 9, because anything outside the box here is going to get you paid if you can get them home.
I always feel like the nightcap, especially with the 12-5 maiden claimers, it's favorites or it's kind of a price horse.
Absolutely.
So for me, I'm going to take a stand against the 2. I'm going to use him for second. But I go to the number 9, Senorita Salsa, a 4-year-old filly by Two-Step Salsa, who, when you look at the form, the last 2 have been good. You can kind of throw out the other races before that. 2 starts back, it was a race scheduled for the turf at the 5-furlong distance. And at this level, field of 11, just was second best. Piper, heavily favored in there, was kind of the horse that we thought would win out of the Carlos David barn. You know, this is just second best. Now, the interesting thing for me last time out was at $16,000 level, slightly tougher if you want to put it that way. Another big field. Thought this one kind of found her best foot late. She was 27-1. She only missed by a length and a quarter, finishing 4th. And she had some trouble. She moved up the rail, but she was kind of bumped at the start of the race. Not the perfect of trips. So I'm just wondering if last time out, if she can maybe just improve slightly from that with a cleaner trip, might put her in the mix at a price.
Yeah, and she won't have to improve that much to get a big piece of this, if not all of it. And if nothing else, she's in good form. I think there's something to be said when you're in these lower level maiden claiming races. You come in good form, as you mentioned. It is a slight class drop. Probably getting off the rail might be beneficial for her as well, because she does have tactical speed to get the right kind of trip in here. Maybe doesn't have to worry about traffic as much as she did last time.
And when you look at this race in terms of pace, I thought the number 5 Defendant might be towards the front, moving off those dirt races onto the turf. And I thought in that case, someone like the number 7 Driving Wind, who I know you have some interest in, is going to need some pace to run at, or at least it looks like from those last couple efforts.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, she's over 12 lifetime with 6 underneath finishes. And then you look at her on paper, and that's the kind of horse she is. Running out of ground, not getting the pace. She's not quick enough to keep up early. So she's always going to have traffic and issues late, spotting some of these horses a lot of lengths. And I would think that's kind of how it plays out today. Just runs out of room.
In her last 2, those were those 2 cracks at the $16,000 level. There certainly was an improved performance from the $25,000 and $35,000 level. So now she's taking another slight drop. So for me, we're kind of in agreement that in the top 3 here, just a little flip-flopped in order. So that's how we see the 10-race Friday card. But we're not done yet. We still have the lightning round for today with a couple things to go over in terms of racing here and at other tracks. We'll start with the number 1 thing on our list. Tonight's the Charlestown Classic. Grade 2 event, $800,000 is the purse. I think we have the slate to show this. And the big name in there, for us at least, is the number 2, Noble Drama, who's coming off of 2 wins in a row, that being more recently in the city of Dania, and as well as the names Jimmy, 8-1 on the morning line, but a pretty interesting field, if you ask me, Brian.
Yeah, 10:18 in the p.m. tonight. There you see it. And it is a solid field, 800,000. There's no surprise there. And, you know, Noble Drama's not without hope, actually. He's going to save all the ground down inside. He comes in off 2 strong runs. He's earned over 700,000. As well, and you know, he's a Sunshine Millions winner here, so we're very familiar with him in South Florida, and he's going to be running on late over that kind of funky little bull ring, 3 turns there at Charlestown. Always a fun race.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for the Florida bred, but other horses in there, notable names. Warriors Charge is one of them. Sleepy Eyes Todd, who's going to try to defend his title, was last year's winner in the Classic, as well as some others. I think it's a stacked field, nice betting race as well. We'll move on to our second thing on the list. The Ntra Poll kind of does the rankings to look at where horses are in terms of the Breeders' Cup Classic. And love this photo. I found this one in our digital collection of Nick Sko winning the Pegasus. He's going to retain that top spot.
Yeah, I mean, I vote there, and it's a no-brainer. He obviously was awesome in the Pegasus, and Ashley was probably even more awesome in the Whitney up at Saratoga when he just basically speed popped the field. If you see that race, too, it's a really cool as they gallop out and you look at him straight on the far turn, he's like 15 lengths in front of that field. And it was a good Whitney. I know there was only 5 horses, but he absolutely blasted them. And he's going to be really tough to reel in over Del Mar. You know, I know it's 1.25 miles, but he's a fast horse. We saw it right here in the Pegasus. When he gets his way, those speed horses, they just string out the field, and the horses have trouble just keeping up, let alone running them down late. You saw it in the Whitney, you saw it in the Pegasus. You might well see it at Del Mar next start. I talked to Brad Cox the other day, actually, and he said he's going to run in the Lucas Classic as a prep for that. So I would think Nick Sko is going to come in with a heck to pay out at Del Mar.
He's just an impressive horse with all of his
Really is.
performances, and he's got a great story with his Maryland ties, Sabrina Moore and Greenmount Farm. So we're always rooting for him. He's still at the top spot in the Ntra Poll. Another kind of note, maybe going up a little bit north of the border, the Queen's Plate was last Sunday, a nice big field of 13 in there, and it was an exciting finish. The winner, you can see we're going to show the stretch run right now here, was the number 1 Safe Conduct, a Phil Serpy trainee with Irad Ortiz Jr. in the saddle. This one was forwardly placed throughout, got a great trip. It almost looked like for a little bit, once you see these final strides to the wire, that he might be denied by the number 7 Riptide Rock and Adina Springs Homebred, but came down to trip, and Irad gave him a perfect ride.
Yeah, and he did the dirty work, too. He was chasing early, and he gutted it out late, you're right, with Irad. And it's cool to see Phil Serpy, a longtime New York, Florida kind of trainer, one of the good guys. You know, he doesn't always get the greatest stock, but he's there day in and day out, and he had kind of had a rough year going into it, but Phil does a really good job, and it's really cool to see him pop up for a big number up there at Woodbine. Well done.
I'm sure $1 million purse race doesn't, kind of makes things a little bit easier when you get another win in that sort of circumstances. Finally, tomorrow we have the FTBOA Florida Sire Stakes, our second division there, the Susan's Girl and the Affirmed. And I want to show you the slates for both of these. We'll start with the 2-year-old filly division. Susan's Girl. Nice field of 11 assembled in here. I think 2 big kind of names maybe stand out in here. The number 6, My Sassenach, who won the last division here just about a month ago. And then kind of a newcomer to the scene, the Bill Mott trainee, the number 7, Outfoxed. Edgar Zayas getting the call on that one.
Yeah, she was 3rd in her debut at Saratoga, obviously against Open Company. So now she gets to face her own kind, so to speak, with the Florida bred. She ran a really big number that day. The winner ran off the screen for Steve Asmussen. The runner-up actually ran the other day on the turf at Saratoga and did not run an inch. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think Outfox is going to take a lot of money. And, you know, you see Bill Mott here in the summer shipping in. They paid, I believe, $360 for this daughter of a relatively obscure sire. So, yeah, she seems to be very precocious for a barn that, you know, is not known to strike early. So I think that's another feather in her cap. But then, obviously, Miss Sassenach was awesome here winning last time.
Very big performance from that one. We'll show the slate for the other division. That's the Affirmed division, 7 furlongs on the dirt for the boys. Now, spoke with Michael Yates earlier this week. I think the plan was to send both of his top 2 finishers from the previous race, that being Cajun's Magic and Dean Delivers. You can see only one was entered. That is Cajun's Magic with the 5 post position at 7-5 morning line. A lot of ways you can go in here other than that, kind of a spread out morning line. I have some interest in the number 8, Catton. Brian, when you started looking at the race, is there anyone else that kind of intrigued you?
Well, it's a wide open race, Ashley. I think it's much more wide open than the filly division. That's for sure, because I think you can narrow that one down. I think King Cap is very, very good on debut, and if he moves forward. Now, we're also, the precociousness of these 2-year-olds is wearing off, going 7 furlongs now, and I think you need to look at pedigree a little bit more. I thought Clapton was very good winning last time in a much more improved effort than on debut. So a lot of these horses come in going the right direction. Obviously, Cajun's Magic is the horse that beat, but I don't think he has to win, Ashley. I think you're allowed to look elsewhere, too.
Yeah, it should be intriguing. It'll be interesting to see also how the tote board kind of shakes out for this race. The FTBOA Florida Sire Stakes are races 9 and races 11 on the card tomorrow. But that wraps up the lightning round for this Friday edition of Gulfstream Part Today. Ashley here with Brian. We'll be here all afternoon. We'll be here in just a couple minutes. But first, let's go up to Pete Aiello. We'll get his changes in track conditions.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Round on her inside. Race. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. It's last of the 12, as they roll into the backstretch.